is Pat. I'm from a Thai family, but I don't think that I'm a pure Thai because my father is a Thai Chinese and my mother, I heard she is a Thai Mon. That is the reason why my dad taught me to call him Tia, which I think it must be a type of Chinese language, but I don't know where it's from. But I call my mom Mẹ like other Thais. We speak Thai at home. Sometimes I hear dad says Chinese word, but that only with mom. When at home, my family call me Nu or Nong Nu. It means little mouse, but I'm sorry to say that it's a cute mouse because I'm the youngest in my family. And this word is the same word when the little girl addresses herself when she speaks to adult. Do you think that name still suits me when I grew up? Of course not. So now I prefer people to call me Pat, which is my full name in short. My hometown is a small village called Samut Songkram, which is actually not far from Bangkok. People there, they still keep their lifestyle like a very typical rural Thailand. We call each other like people in our own family. Uncle, aunt, grandpa, grandma, even we are not a real relatives. Even that places are far from Bangkok, but we speak dialect which is little different from Bangkok Thai language. Myself, I got a chance to relocate because of my education to Bangkok. My community changed. I met with many friends who were from Bangkok, so I practiced my Thai language like a Bangkok people. Until now, I speak like a Bangkok people. Many foreigners, when you start learning Thai language, you may be taught to say ka or krap as an ending word for your statement or your question, which make your statements or questions more polite, sounds more polite for Thai people. But actually, at home, I don't use all these words with my family. I use a different word. Let's say, instead of saying ka, I say ja. That is more for the younger people speak to the older one. And I learned to say ka when I started my school when I was 6 years old. Until now, I use both ka and ja. Depends on who am I talking to. If I talk to my parents or my family, I still use the word ja, not ka. Second language came into my life when I started my first English lesson when I was in grade 5. It was so excited, but in small town rural area of Thailand, I didn't have any chance to use the language with anyone. At home, I speak Thai. In school, my teacher, she taught English using Thai language as a language of instruction. So my English was in the book and I returned it at the end of the day to the book. However, I continue studying English and try to use it sometimes along the way. Before I graduate my bachelor degree, I was about to have a chance to use it, but that just only few time is not good to practice, continuously practice to see the result of it. In the last year of my university, that time investment of Japanese company was huge in Thailand, and that was one motivation for me to study Japanese language, and I found that it was very useful for me later in my working life. My Japanese teacher, she is a native Japanese teacher, but she used Thai language to teach us. But that way, I think it helped me to understand the language more.
Time to sing hello to you and you and you and you all the
When I got my first job, apart from Thai, I had Japanese colleague too. That was the time when I got the chance to practice my Japanese language. Actually, in our daily routine, we use more English language because that time my Japanese language was not so good. Sometimes we use Thai language too because my colleagues they also this is one rule that when they came to Thailand they had to take Thai language class. So actually that time we use all the languages English, Thai and Japanese. Depends on what kind of situation that we face. Whatever language that is worse that easy for us and help us to understand each other better, then we use that language. For English, actually that was the one that I used the most and I could practice all the skills the most because all of the textbook that time I worked in laboratory as a researcher. So most of the English that I used to communicate with my Japanese colleagues was academic English. All the research paper, textbooks, and for Japanese, we use only for our like basic conversation, which sometimes we face difficulty of different accent, Thai English and Japanese English. So to fill that kind of gap, we use either Thai or Japanese to help us.
that we know. Hello, everybody. Hello.
I took my turn when I went to Japan for 1.5 month training. Actually, I expected to use more Japanese, practices more to be more fluent in Japanese. But actually, when I went there, the major language that I used with my colleague was English again because my Japanese was not strong enough to understand everything. But the good thing was when I was there, I was in Japanese speaking environment. I saw sign in Japanese. I saw many documents in the laboratory in Japanese. I saw the textbooks in Japanese, and I saw I had my colleagues, Japanese colleagues there to help me practice. So what I practiced more that time was Japanese reading. It's like a basic reading, not that difficult textbook. Um, Speaking, try to speak with more with my colleague.
Everybody. Hello, everybody. It's so nice to
Not only English and Japanese that I use with my Japanese colleagues, I also use English with Westerners like German, Italian, and American. All these people are from suppliers company from international company. I started writing technical report and also business. So now the language that I use, I mean English, changed a little bit from academic English in textbooks and technical terms of chemistry. Now it's changed to business term and more for negotiation between company like for price and for trading. I started getting more opportunity to use my language, mostly English, when I need to go for many conferences that this kind of companies organize for their customer. But most of the skill that I use is the listening skill, not speaking skill because I was young and English was is not my first language, and I was very new in the industry, not many knowledge to speak to other people. So I just listened, and I can say that I didn't have a single question to ask them because I I scared. I scared of my English. I was worried that if they can understand me or not. Until one time, I was so excited. I got a chance to present my work to my managing director and my Japanese colleagues. But I was excited, but I didn't worry about it at all because what I prepare and I presented all my work, and the English that I used, many of them were English technical terms that it easy for me, and I can say that the presentation went well. The reason that I wasn't worried about my presentation that time, I think because all my audience, my managing director, he was a Thai, and also my Japanese colleagues, all of them are the people who I know well. So and the thing that I presented or my work that I have done by myself, I know the content of what I'm going to talk about. So that time was good. Now I can understand that the way I use English with my Japanese colleagues it was quite friendly style compared with the way I used my English with our suppliers. I had to keep distance.
Hands clap, feet tap. It's time to sing hello.
The way I use and practice my English got developed bit by bit over the years in chemical business. But the big change that helped me use more English in my daily life when I changed to my last job, which I need to involve more in training. I remember that the first time I had to give presentation to foreigners. Foreigners in this group, I mean native English speaker. I was so scared. I had to provide them some basic information about Thailand. I remember I spent a month to prepare just a 3 hours information to them. I remember everything in the script. So the English that I used the first time in that kind of presentation was English from script.
You and you and you and you, all the people that we know.
Why I got so tense this time? Remember that my first time presentation to my MD? All those I know those people, but this time all these foreigners they are new. I'm new to them, and they're also new to me, and that's the reason why I got so tense. And in terms of content, it's not something that I do with my hands, but I study. I read from books, and when I prepare script, the script English is something that is not verbal English, it's written English, and I forced myself to remember everything. So it was so hard the first time in that situation.
Come together and raise our voice in song. Let's
Now my responsibility about my work is little more apart from training. I have to work out with all the foreigners who are coming to Thailand to be a teacher. I have to help accommodate them into this society, this culture, which many of them they have no idea about it. So my daily routines, I can say that 80% I use English language to help them solving their problem, to train them to listen to their problems. And the rest 20% I use Thai language in my daily life and speak or communicate with my clients Thai schools, and most of the people that working with are Thai teachers to help them solving issues with foreign teachers.
time you
not only to speak and listen to them. I need to practice myself to communicate more using email and internet. So I have learned the way listening and speaking in real life, and how to use email better, with which we actually need a little different language to be successful in that.
Let's have a